Yeah, it was tough finishing up at Wales. Results and performances weren't good enough, and I understand that. And there was just a huge amount of negativity out there, and I kind of woke up one day and went, actually, I don't need this in my life. Probably a lot of people don't realise is that the success that we had over a period were there. We knew we were papering over the cracks that were there, and when we said, when the dam bursts, which it has, it's going to take a while to fix it up. I have this romantic view of the Lions. I see the Lions as being an opportunity to celebrate the game. Probably 217, 221 was the first time I kind of went, winning it was more important than anything else.
Do you loathe the media?
It's one organisation that I'd never deal with again.
Can you say what organisation or no?
New Zealand Herald.
Oh, right. Oh, the Herald, yeah. So what's the story about that? What's the whole backstory with the clown nose and the clown thing? What's the closest you've come to being involved with the All Blacks? Have there been like phone calls or people reaching out over the years?
Oh, I've had...
Oh, good, you're here. Come on. This is the centre of performance. Whenever there's a top performance in New Zealand, it all comes from here. That's Lisa Carrington. She's been doing that for days. That's the boy who got the hole-in-one in Tokyo. Oh, he did it again. Hey, Finn, how's the performance going?
Top tier.
Nice. This is our Generate room. In here, you'll find our top performers helping Kiwis maximise their KiwiSaver investments. Get in here, Finn. Maximise. Right, Generate. Putting performance first.
Warren Gatland, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks, Dom.
Mate, it's great to have you here. This was sort of liaised through your daughter.
Yeah, it was. I think you messaged her, and then she passed the message on to me, and I said, look, get him to contact me, and I'll see what happens.
From what I can gather, this is your very first NZ podcast.
Probably.
Yeah.
I've done a few of them, a lot of them overseas, but not really in New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's an honour to have you here. One of the greats of New Zealand rugby, a great Mulu man,
Absolutely.
And a coaching great. Yeah. How does life look for you this year?
I'm loving life at the moment. Really enjoying things. So, yeah, it was tough finishing up at Wales, but I kind of made the right decision for myself. Kind of looked at it. There was, it was a challenge, and results and performances weren't good enough, and I understand that. And there was just a huge amount of negativity out there, and I kind of woke up one day and went, actually, I don't need this in my life. I've been through a lot, been successful, and I felt it was a challenge. So I kind of said, that's enough for me for the moment, and I will have a break. And there's a few other things on the horizon and a few other opportunities, but just really enjoyed having that time, and myself, my wife and family, we had a bit of time in Spain and Portugal and France, and then we just come back from Fiji for a few weeks, and just going with the flow.
Yeah, on your daughter's Instagram, I saw some footage from Dinnerelle of you diving into the pool. It's not a bad dive for a man in his 60s.
Yeah. We went out to one of the islands, Paradise Cove, we flew out there, which was beautiful, and then into the Sofitel and Dinnerelle, and my son and his girlfriend were there, and my daughter and son-in-law and two grandkids. Yeah, we had a great time. It was really good to have some quality family time. Yeah,
you seem real family-centric. So there's your wife, Trudy, who you've been with for decades now, and it's her birthday today, by the way.
Yeah, she turns the same age as me today, so only for a couple of weeks, for my birthday in a couple of weeks. So
and two adult kids, Gabby and Bryn, and it was Gabby who set this up. I read about Gabby. There was a bet that you guys had during the 2017 Lions tour.
It wasn't so much a bet. I can remember after the second test, so the test series was 1-1, and look, the Lions, it was the second time I've been involved, and obviously coming to New Zealand and playing the All Blacks at home, 2 test matches at Eden Park, obviously with the record has been fairly fantastic for the All Blacks. The people in charge of the Lions, I suppose, never thought that we had any chance of winning a series, so they offered me a huge bonus for winning a Lions series in New Zealand, but stupidly I never sort of negotiated for a drawn series. So I can remember on the Friday night before the third test saying to Gabby, I said, Gabs, if we win tomorrow, you can go shopping on Sunday and buy whatever you want. So she was pretty excited about that, and obviously we drew the third test, and I get a text from her about 15, 20 minutes later saying, Dad, are we still going shopping tomorrow? So, you can understand young teenage girls or some young women in terms of, what their priorities are.
Well, I asked her what she would have bought if you handed over the card. Yeah, by the way, 15-all draw in that third game, Lions versus the All Blacks. She said, I would have bought myself a nice new wardrobe. Wow, this is going to make me sound like a brat. So I don't know how extensive the wardrobe is. She's talking.
No, she's lucky. I've got two great kids. They are fantastic. They've done well. And the most important thing is they're good people, and that's what I like. And the relationship that Gabby and Bryn have has been amazing, just how incredibly close they are. So, look, we're very, very lucky as parents in terms of the two kids we have.
And Bryn on Instagram, there's like a series of videos of like you having an old man nap in the middle of the day, and he sneaks up and kisses you on the mouth.
Oh,
how many times does he get you?
Oh,
he's a recidivist.
Oh, I know. He loves scaring people, so that's kind of one of his things, hiding behind covers. He's got some mates who do that sort of thing. I remember driving through the tunnels on a bike ride one day at Waihi, and so he's biked ahead and it's pitch black, and he's hidden in one of the corners and come out and scared me and stuff. So he loves doing a bit of that sort of stuff and catching me out. So it's probably about time I got him back, I think.
100%. Yeah, it's it's like 10-0 at the moment, I think, to him, according to Instagram. And what is the big much philosophy in the Gatland household?
The big much? That's an interesting one. So if we say to each, how much, it's big much, and it means how much do I love you, and it's big much. So I really started with Bryn and used to read, say how much do I love you for big hair, the rabbit story, the big hair story. So it goes on, just how much do I love you to the gate and back, and to the park and back and up to the road. I can't remember the story. So I used to get to the end of it, and they used to finish off, I love you to the moon and back, and everyone sort of heard that, and then so I'd finish off that, and Bryn say, well, I love you to the sun and back, and then I'd go, I love you to the stars and back, and then I love you to the stars and back 100 times, then 1,000 times, then a million times. So this would go on and on. He loved the story. And one day I said to him, Bryn, I love you big much, and there's nothing bigger than that. And he went, oh, okay. And so he never asked me again. So it kind of just became a saying in the family. So just say how much, and it's sort of kind of like big much. And I don't know if you ever saw me in games. Sometimes they'd be you put your hands out because that's what the hair does, and you reach out as far as you can, and that sort of like symbolises what big much. And a lot of times in games, seen the family, and Bryn does it as well. You see family up in the stands, and you just might do that, and just we know exactly what we're saying to each other. So just how important each other is, and how important our relationship is.
It's so cool. It is something you still say and do to this day.
Yeah, my granddaughter. So I'd say she's 3.5. She'll be 4 in October. So if I say to her how much, she'll go big much. Yeah. So, it's kind of we've got a few of those sort of little sayings. I'd say my daughter, she got me some shirts for Christmas last year. One's called my second favourite, because I'd say to her, all the kids all the time, oh, you're my second favourite, or you're my second favourite. Who's your first? And I'd just say, I don't know, So that came a bit of a joke. And another shirt she got made for me was Any Chance. And people, so when we say to each other in the family, so is there any chance? We know exactly what we're saying, because I coached a guy in Wasps called Fraser Waters, and came from a very posh family from Jersey, and well educated. He wasn't playing rugby for the money. He didn't need the money. He was playing because he loved the game, and he was such a competitor. And when you get those sort of players, they're gold dust. They're absolutely gold in terms of the UK, because it's not trying to think about your futures, because they're competitive and want to win. And we were doing something one day, and the boys used to take the mickey out of him, and they used to call him Whakwa, very posh, Fraser Waters, He had a few caps for England, Whakwa, So one day Fraser said, "Excuse me, is there any chance?" And I went, "What? Is there any chance?" And I went, "What do you mean, is there any chance?" And I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "Oh, that's just a polite way for saying, would you hurry the fuck up?" excuse my language. So anytime we're with the family, one of us, no one knows what you're saying, just say, "Is there any chance?" And the others know exactly what we're saying. So we've got a few little quirky things like that within the family, Big Much and Any Chance and you're my second favourite and a few other things there.
It's really cool. It's like your own little sort of language.
I suppose when when you're away from home so much and you're in a lot of different people's companies, you need a few things to keep you entertained, but also as a reminder to tell someone to hurry up if they need to get on with it as well.
Oh, how good's that?
Yeah.
And what about Trudy and yourself? When you guys met at Teachers College?
Met at Teachers College.
At what age?
Was our third year at Teachers College, so
20-ish.
21, I think. Yeah.
What were you like? Were you a rugby head at the time?
Yeah, I hadn't played. I think that year I sat on the bench at the end of the year for Waikato. We knew who each other were because we were in the same year, but we hadn't really connected or spoken in it. You'd probably get kicked out of doing this today, but it was the first day of the semester or the term of the year, and she was standing in front of me looking at the notice board and looking at the schedule and what was going on, and I came behind. I knew who she was, and I pinched her backside. She turned around and smiled, and then we connected after that. So I was thinking, it's kind of not the thing you'd do these.
You cancelled for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, kicked out and banned and forever. But so that was in '85. So sort of 40 years, really. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing, amazing time frame.
Yeah.
And it seems like you still really like each other's company.
Yeah, I think we've been done a lot of travelling. We've lived in a number of countries, and with Ireland, and obviously in London, and with time at Wasps, and then in Wales, and then back home. I don't know how many houses we've lived in over the years, and I think in all that time, I think I've only been there for about 2 of the shifts, but she's done most of them. Yeah, so it's worked. I mean, we went to Ireland when the kids were very young. Bryn hadn't really learned to speak at that time, so they both picked up Irish accents, and then we sort of 6 years living in Ireland. We moved to London, and Bryn kept his Irish accent till he was sort of 12 or 13, and then Gabby picked up an English accent. And I remember Trudy coming home one day. She'd taken the kids out shopping and stuff, and she was having a coffee and sitting down. The kids were having something to eat and drink, and a woman on the table next door said, "Excuse me, I don't mean to be rude, but how does it work that you have a son who has an Irish accent, a daughter's got an English accent, and you've got a New Zealand accent? How does that kind of work?" So, but after the time at Wasps, we came back. Kids were kind of Gabby was getting ready for high school, and Bryn as well. And then I did the Wales thing, and sort of travelled back and forwards between campaigns, and they came over, and it kind of worked. The thing about international rugby is that it's full on in those periods, but you do get a little bit of respite in terms of a break in between campaigns.
How hard has your career been on Trudy and the kids? How hard has it been? Has it been hard on them? Or?
I think it's been challenging. We've made sacrifices, being apart and stuff, and missing sort of important events and things. But it's given us that opportunity. It's given us security, and had that chance to be able to set ourselves up financially, and probably for the future of my family and stuff. And I kind of and that for me has been was a motivating factor. Sort of coming from, I wouldn't say a privileged upbringing, and pretty tough times, and so to have those opportunities given to you in terms of playing rugby when the game is professional, get involved in coaching, and being able to earn a good living. Yeah, it's challenging because there's a lot of there can be criticism and negativity out there, and those are kind of, you get to sort of put up with that, and almost sometimes I think times have changed where it's kind of almost like water off a duck's back in terms of a lot of the stuff that's out. I'm not on social media. I've got a couple of little accounts where the family know about, which is if we need to contact each other. So and I think that helps. That you always hear about the stuff that's going on, and sort of what people are saying if there's negativity, but I definitely try and stay away from it.
There was a post Gabby did. Some ex-players were coming at you, and she had to go on social media. So obviously, like, it hurt her deeply, like seeing the old man.
Yeah, I think
having a rough go. Like when that happens, do you say, Gabby, don't even get involved, or does it like make your heart burst with pride?
Oh, I think the piece that she wrote was when I saw that, well, I thought it was pretty amazing. It's kind of like she was. I could understand. Look, there were some players in the media, and they'd been a bit critical of myself and some of the performances, and that's understandable. That was their job, and that's what they get paid for. But the point she was kind of make was that if it hadn't been for the success of your rugby careers in Wales, and that, then you probably wouldn't be in those jobs or in those positions or being asked to do those sorts of things. And it's like everything that's sort of sensational news for a few minutes, but the amount of responses that she got from people in terms of, and even the messages that I got from people saying, "Oh, you must be really proud of your daughter," and what she said. And I think she was pretty eloquent in terms of her response, and I suppose having a. I didn't really say anything, but her wanting to have a bit of a crack back at them and protect her dad, and because we are really an incredibly close family.
Yeah. Oh, it's touching. It's really nice.
Yeah.
So the last wee while you've been in Wales on your own, the family's back here. How was Bachelor life? Did you pick up any bad habits? Have you found it hard, like, to go back to living in a house with your wife?
No, I think I've been good. I do most of the cooking and try and help out around home and stuff. So, I think I've never minded my own company, and I've kind of been busy. And so when you're back and you're sort of coaching, you are really busy. Probably the hardest. I found Sunday's the hardest day. It's kind of like, it's almost like it's your rest day and your family day, and kind of that was for me sometimes being on my own on Sundays was the most challenging thing. But like I said, when you're involved in campaigns, and particularly rugby, it's almost 24/7. It's fully on for that sort of 2-month period or a couple of months, and as people involved in the rugby championship will know exactly what I'm talking about. But like I say, you do get that bit of respite in terms of a break, in between campaigns.
Yeah, I'd imagine the homesickness is pretty fierce when there's like a birthday or something back home, or maybe when you're getting a hammering over there and you're on a losing streak. That's when you want your tribe around you. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. And the thing was that I know it's Father's Day on Sunday, but I get. I never seem to have Father's Day because it was a different time of the year, and my wife seemed to always get two Mother's Days, which is kind of was a bit ironic. So I think when you miss birthday parties and significant events, and you miss a lot of family functions and weddings and different. But it's not really different to when you were playing growing up. I played a lot of cricket as a youngster growing up, so. missed a lot of family stuff in there, and those are kind of the sacrifices you make if you want to be successful and you want to try and get to the top of your sport.
Well, you're in the country this year for Father's Day. What are you hoping to get for Father's Day? The Fozzie book's pretty good, I believe.
Oh, apparently, yeah. I don't. I'm not sure what I'm getting for Father's Day. I spoke to my daughter. I think she was talking about getting me some sunglasses or something like that. So I think her and the son might go halves in that. So I'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I like hearing this family stuff. It's really cool. It's really cool to see the side of you. And I've actually got a card here, and I don't know if you want to talk about this marcher at all, but this card's called Shawna.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, which is not something that's widely known, I guess, about Warren Gatland. You talk about this in your book.
Yeah.
So who's Shawna?
So she was our firstborn, and she unfortunately lived for about 4 months. She was born with spina bifida, and times we had a couple of scans and things, just did not know. She was born in Ireland in Galway, and kind of what happened then had a really significant impact on me. Wasn't in the short term, but was what I thought about on my coaching career sort of later on. Just the importance of, we're all involved in a sport that we love and we make a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice, but I kind of went a bit further than that. So any teams that I've been involved in, I've spoken about just, how lucky we are, and we often, people are well paid and you get those opportunities, but the most important thing in your life is your family. And I kind of went, if things are right at home, if you've got support from your family, then as a coach you get a much better product on the field. And often a player comes to me and says, "Oh, my partner's got a scan. Can I miss training? Yeah, or something. Something's wrong with one of the kids at home, or the missus. There's some relationship issues, and they need to spend a bit of time together." I've never had a problem with giving players some time or missing some stuff, because I know by doing that I get so much more in return from those players when I ask for something from them, and kind of like, so when we'd been in going backwards and forwards to Ireland for a few years, so we'd spend 5 or 6 months in Ireland, and I was sort of player coach there with a club called Norwegians, and I'd come back to New Zealand and pick up a relief teaching job and lucky enough, then play club rugby, play for Waikato, and hopefully get selected for an All Black tour at the end of the year, and then stay on an island. The downside of that, we had 8 winters in a row, but but when we were there, obviously, Shawna was born, and we were, the club that I was involved with had been, their whole goal was to get promoted to the All Ireland League, and the first year I went there, they weren't in a position where they could get promoted. The next year, just missed out on promotion, then we got promoted that third year, or the third or fourth year. And when Shawna was born, we were right in the middle of the playoffs for promotion. And they'd spent a significant amount of money having us over there, paying for accommodation, giving us some expenses and those things over that period. And when Shawna was born, they said to her, you got to go home. And I just said, look, we're in the middle of playoffs. The next few weeks are incredibly important. And they wouldn't have it, and so we flew back to New Zealand. I think I'd played the first game where we drew, and we'd been back in New Zealand for a few weeks, and we got things settled back home in terms of having things, pretty calm in terms of Shawna coming back home. And I rang the club and I said, "There's another game. Do you want me to come back for the playoff?" Which was important, having drawn the first game, and they said, "Would you do that?" So I flew back to Ireland. We played this game in Limerick, won the game, and I flew back to New Zealand again. We got promoted to the All Ireland League. So, and I kind of felt, and that to me was a massive lesson. They'd made a huge sacrifice in giving me something, and it was easy for me to give it back. And I kind of knew, the same with the players. People say, but what if they're missing training? So I treat it like, they're carrying an injury and they can't train, and that happens all the time and things. And like I said, you kind of get things right off the field as much as you possibly can, and then hopefully you can get things right on the field.
Mm. What were those 4 months like?
They were challenging, yeah. So,
because you're quite young at the time, eh? Like late 20s?
Yeah.
Maybe 30?
No, it wasn't that. So Gabby was born when I was 30, so it's 30 years difference. So I think 28, 27, 28, yeah. It was tough, sort of. I can remember when she was born in hospital in Galway, and I didn't realise, but obviously the midwife and the nurses and they were sort of crying with tears and stuff, and sort of what was on, and then all of a sudden there was a bit of a, the sort of everyone running around and stuff, and then we got specialists involved, and I can remember talking to the specialist, a few days later, and saying, in terms of spina bifida, out of 10, how bad is she? And he said, probably 9 out of 10. And so you imagine a little, a little infant being born with, a significant sort of hole on the sort of lower half of their back. But the thing for me is Trudy was amazing. Just before Shawna passed away, that the lesion over on her back had healed, and they said, with a lesion that size, there's a good chance that she'll get an infection, and that'll go to the brain, and it'll probably end up sort of killing her as well. But that never happened. I mean, she was, Trudy was amazing. But there was, it was challenging afterwards as well, because we would go and see the doctor every now and again. I'd actually gone on a rugby trip to Australia, and sort of set her up, and she passed away while I was over in Australia. So I sort of flew back, and that was. That took me a number of years to sort of get over that, because I wasn't when I was there, and Trudy rang me, and and those were sort of the days before mobile phones really sort of had come in, and so I was teaching back in New Zealand, and sometimes I'd get a phone call from the office, say, Trudy's rung, can you give her a call back? And my heart would just start pounding, kind of like thinking,
worst case,
something's happened to the kids, and that's. So you don't realise sort of the impact that those sort of things have on you, not short term but long term, and how long. And sometimes it takes a while to recover from those things. So it's. I often talk to the kids and go, we talk about Shawna a lot and say, you were here probably because of her, because we wouldn't have had Gabby quite, as soon as we did after Shawna had passed away, and then obviously having Bryn. So I kind of look at it as it was really challenging times, but we've ended up with 2 amazing kids, and that's, sometimes you've got to look at the things that are difficult in your life, and but also try and transfer that into the positives.
Do you ever get over the grief, or does it just sort of sit with you sort of permanently?
Oh, I think that. We always light sort of a candle for a birthday in January, January 17th, and one in May as well. And often it's like everything. It's kind of it's always there, but people say time is a great healer, but you never forget it. It's your own personal thing that. As a family, you're conscious of, and you go through, and it's something that Trudy and I always find significant and remember, and had a massive impact. Both challenging, but in a way positively in our lives as well.
I wonder if in a way it changed or shaped the way that you raise Gabby and Bryn, and that you know what's on the line and what you can lose, and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose that, you say something, and things that I'd said to my kids that, I'd said to Gabby and Bryn, I said, I don't care where you are in the world, what's happened, if you get yourself in trouble, whatever, you get on the phone, you ring me and I'll be there. And I kind of said, and I meant it, but they know that I meant that as well, in terms of they know how important they are to myself and Trudy as a family, how close we are, and it's just said, even now, I see Bryn, might not see each other. We're going to Japan for Christmas, which I'm really looking forward to. And the first thing, I'll give him a hug and maybe a kiss, and how much, and he'll say big much, So, and those things are pretty cool.
That's it. You're a kissing couple, a kissing family.
Yeah, I think a hugging family. Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool.
Oh, it's amazing. It's I can never remember. I know my dad was really proud of me, but I can never remember my dad saying to me he loved me or hugging me. And even when we got older, we shook hands and stuff, and when we greeted each other. But I think the thing is that it's kind of like different, and probably the fact that I didn't worry what other people thought and hadn't been successful. It gives you kind of a little bit more of a license to be able to do things. And I can remember when Bryn was at school at Hamilton Boys, and our food bill used to be absolutely massive every week because he'd have all his mates around, and we were close to town. We had a swimming pool and stuff, and Trudy would be looking after them. And guys like Tamati Martin, who plays for the Warriors, he'd just bowl in the front door, and Bryn and Bryn were good mates. And we had so many people sort of staying and things. And I'd be there coming home, and Bryn come out, and I'd just give him a big hug in front of his mates. And it was kind of like, those, you're talking sort of, 2013, sort of 11, 12. And there's those days sort of when teenage boys sort of, it's kind of been seen as maybe not the thing to do. But when Bryn and I were doing, they went, people sort of, that's normal, that's pretty cool. And being able to show affection. And I kind of thought, it's a really trying to set an example to people, not being afraid to do those sort of things. The first day when he came into the Chiefs there, they were in the gym, and I went and saw him, and I just go and give him a big hug in front of all the players, and it just, it wasn't. It was just something that was normal for us, And I think you're trying to sort of kind of, you're not being stoic. There's nothing wrong with showing emotion, and particularly with family members, and I think like I said, you're trying to set a good example for other people as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing all that family stuff, especially the Shawna stuff. I'm sure it's not that easy to talk about.
It was definitely tough at the time, but like I said, time is a great healer, but you kind of it never goes away anyway.
You live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the family trip to Japan at Christmas, are you doing some door knocking? Looking for some jobs?
No. We were going to go for a couple of weeks, and then we said we can get there for 3. I think we're going over on about the 12th of December. We get to see, they start just before Christmas, so I think the 13th or something. So we get to see that game, and then a game on the 20th and one on the 27th or 28th, and then fly back, get back just before New Year's. So, looking forward to that. It's going to be bloody cold over there. It does get, really extremes in weather. It's really, really hot in the summer and really cold in the winter. So, but, looking forward to spending a little bit of time with him over there.
It's a great place to visit, especially with a bidet on every toilet. You go to a toilet in Starbucks and there's a bidet there.
Yeah.
Your butt's never been so clean.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's go back and talk about some of the early years. So I've got this photo here of a young Warren Gatland. How are you the same, and how are you? The man sitting in front of me now, how is he the same, and how is he different to that kid there?
Oh.
How old were you there? 15, 16?
No, that was 15. I would have been 18, 17, okay. 18. Oh, I look. I loved my sport, and that's what drove me. I was incredibly competitive as a kid, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I always kind of challenged it. I think there was a period and a time where, with kids growing up in New Zealand, everything was about participation involved, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are times where, life is about competition. Life is things. It's about winning and losing at times, and trying to be successful. So, as growing up as a kid, I was always wanted to be on the winning team or wanted to do things. So, and I found myself, if we were playing a game growing up and the score wasn't being kept, or a teacher was just saying, I lost interest. And so. I don't know where that came from, but definitely very, very competitive in anything that I did in terms of sport, and I was lucky enough from a very early age to go and play for teams that were pretty successful. From the early age of 5, sort of happened to play in club sides that were really successful, and playing Gwyn Shield and Roller Mills, and then sort of through secondary school and first 15s and stuff, and Waikato secondary schools and that. And so I was kind of driven, and I had a big appetite for. At the time, wasn't just rugby. I loved my cricket, and there was a period where I was making a decision which way I was going to go. Was it going to be the rugby route or the cricket route? And probably rugby. The opportunities in rugby just came along just a little bit sooner than they would have done in cricket.
God, you're another one of those, eh? Like a Geordie Barrett or a Jeff Wilson, or there's so many of you guys, that are like just fantastic at both these games.
Well, I think that in those days you were able to do both. It's very difficult for even for kids nowadays, and the sort of the environments to play at a high level in both those sports, and you still see some pretty talented kids in terms of doing those things. But still enjoy my cricket and watch my cricket and stuff. And
still rolling arm over, okay?
Not anymore. No, not really. But still do enjoy watching it. Yeah.
I've got a quote here from Andrew Strawbridge, who you've known since you were 7 years old.
Yeah.
He was a pretty talented bloke. He was a very good cricketer, opening the batting, keeping wicket, and bowling fast. If he'd had the same passion for cricket as he did rugby, I'm sure he could have made it in that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, he was a pretty talented sportsman himself, Straws, in terms of cricket and rugby, yeah.
But the rugby ended up all right. The fourth most capped Waikato player ever with 140. Number one on that list, Fozzie, with 148. Yeah. That's a hell of a career. So you guys were teammates for 9 seasons, won the NPC together in 1992. Is that the greatest Waikato rugby team of all time? The 1992 team?
Oh, I think it would have to be up there, 1992, 1993. I think we won the Shield. I remember winning we played Auckland in the semi-final at Eden Park, and I think that the most 92, 93 probably the 2 significant years that playing Auckland in a semi-final in 92 in Eden Park, and then for the Shield in 93, and they never scored a try in both those games. And I remember talking to Zin Zambrook when we won the semi-final in 92, and he said, if it had been a Shield game, you wouldn't have won. And I kind of kept that in the back of my mind for another 12 months. But also, you've got to recognise that what a great Auckland team that was. And I can remember my first game playing against Auckland for the Shield. I think it might have been about 87 or something like that. And we were a young team, and we knew that potentially if we stayed together, that team was going to get better. And Auckland put 30-odd points on us and beat us comfortably at Eden Park. But for me as a person, I just learned so much, and I kind of went, after the game, oh my God, I want to play them next week, because that was I had an insatiable appetite for knowledge, but also for wanting to improve and how do we improve, and I learnt so much there. And then kind of like whether it was King's or Queen's birthday weekend, used to play Auckland and those days, and then obviously in the NPC, and so you get to play them a couple of times, and was all about just closing that gap and trying to learn and gain more experience. And then obviously we had some pretty good years in those sort of early 90s.
Mm. God, you must have been like a rock star in Hamilton at the time. I spent a bit of time living in Hamilton, and you see the rugby guys go out with their blazers on a Saturday to the Outback or the Bank or whatever. You must have been like a god in Waikato at the time.
Oh, I don't know. I think what I loved about sort of the Waikato, just how passionate they were as supporters and fans, and even playing the Lions, and in terms of we played them 93 and won comfortably, but probably it was a Wednesday afternoon before the third test for the Lions tour, and we're probably the only place in the country at the time that on a Wednesday afternoon at 2:30 could fill a stadium, because of the support and obviously the farming community and the people used to get in behind us. So, look, they were always very passionate supporters and incredibly loyal. And I think as you get a little bit older and as you sort of go through those stages in terms of your playing and coaching and stuff, you recognise and you appreciate that the game that you've played and have been involved in your love is there are bigger parts to it, and sometimes there's bigger things in the game, and often the fans and the supporters, they need to be recognised, and we're going through some pretty challenging times at the moment about how do you promote the game, how do you make it more exciting, what sort of things can you do to make sure that people are involved, and I was lucky enough to spend 3 weeks in Australia with the Lions there, and to see the Lions supporters and the fans and stuff, and I just read a few days ago that basically it's cleared the debt for Australian rugby, and that's how important the Lions tours are to the New Zealand to the Southern Hemisphere, and we need to do, from a rugby perspective, everything we can to support it, and people in Australia and South Africa and New Zealand, they appreciate it, they understand how important it is, but there are certain people who, I was involved with the Lions when I think there were 12 or 14 games, and then that went down to 10, and I think it's 8 games, and there are people who would like to see that down to 5 or 6 games, and I think it would completely destroy what a Lions tour is all about, where you get the kind of 5 warm-up games and the 3 tests, and you end up with about 8 games, and then maybe there's a warm-up game, and I think about 10 games on a tour is about right. It's kind of like it is long enough, but the impact that a Lions tour can have on supporters, promoting the game, creating interest, creating superstars, and both the home country and potentially in the UK and Ireland, and financially being a stimulus for the country that's hosting those tours. It can be really important.
Yeah, we'll get into your involvement with the Lions shortly, but you made the All Blacks from Waikato after playing a game against Wales, of all teams.
Yeah,
having a blinder for Waikato against Wales, is that correct?
Yeah, I think we were a young team at the time, and Wales had just won. They'd actually won the Triple Crown, so they'd beaten England, Ireland, and Scotland. So I think it was the first game of tour. I actually captained that day, and yeah, it was it was good. I remember Glenn Webb, the black Welsh winger, and it was it was a coldish day in Hamilton. Not probably not as cold as you'd normally get in Wales, and he was wearing these white gloves and stuff, and I kind of went, oh hell, what's going on here? But that was a little bit different for me. But we were lucky enough to win that game. In fairness, I think probably a record for Waikato record against touring teams, it was pretty good over the years. Yeah.
So how do you get a phone call from Grizz Wiley? Were you in the sort of All Black sort of sphere at the time? Were you in the frame, or were you like a surprise pick? How do you find out about it? Do you hear about it on the radio, or do you get a phone call?
No, it's kind of on the radio. Yeah, it's kind of like in those days, you never really got phone calls. And I enjoy that. It's one of the things that I introduced when I became sort of Lions coach, and even with Wales with World Cups. It's kind of how do you make this? How do you create sort of a tension? How do you make this occasion sort of something really special? And that's what happened. You either heard an All Black team announced live on TV, or you heard it on the radio, and that was that was what created that sort of that jeopardy almost in terms of that creating that excitement. So yeah, look, had a All Black trial in '88, and I think I was reasonably close after the World Cup in '87 to going to Japan and wasn't selected, and then in '88, had an All Black trial, went pretty well, and got selected for Tour of Australia. And you think about how things have changed. I think we went there 13 games, 26 players. Alex Wiley's coach, John Sturgeon as manager, and then you've got doctor and physio. So
it's a compact team.
Yeah, basically four. And John Mayhew actually was the doctor. He's unfortunately passed away now. He was brilliant. And then I think John Gallagher was the fullback. I think he played 12 of the 13 matches on tour, and so those are definitely a lot different. And I was lucky enough to sort of have 4 years and be involved in a few tours, but never got on the pitch set behind Fitzy for a lot of test matches. But and I think, and people say, oh, are you disappointed with that? And I've never been disappointed. I kind of am really proud and honoured for the opportunities I had and the experiences I had. And it kind of made me, when the coaching opportunities came out, I think it made me a better coach. It made me understand, a player could never turn around to me and say, oh, you don't know what it's like not to be selected to be in there. Hang on a minute, I know exactly what it's like to miss out. But then it's kind of it's that learning experience, how do you respond to that disappointment? And you've got to be disappointed and I expect players that I've coached and involved in teams, I expect them to be pissed off, and I expect them to be disappointed they haven't been selected in teams. But then the thing is, then it's how you respond to that. Someone who throws the toys out of the cot and mopes around and he's got their head down for 3 or 4 days. They're in serious trouble of not being involved in the future. But a player who's disappointed, and he's disappointed, but then he goes, okay, right, I'm gonna respond really, really positively in terms of doing everything I can to help this team prepare for the weekend and get the team in the best possible shape to perform on that weekend. Players don't realise that not just coaches but management teams, they see that, and it can have a really significant impact on future selections. Particularly if you're ever in a 50-50 situation where you're not quite sure, but you've got someone who's a really good team man and really, really positive around the environment and really supportive and does lots of things. They're the people you want in your teams.
Yeah, just sort of attitude.
absolutely.
Yeah. There's a quote from you that I read. Being behind Fitzy was the biggest education of my career. Is that sort of what you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
No, it was, and he was a fantastic player, unbelievable All Black. Great All Black captain as well in terms of the success he had. But I learned a huge amount playing against him, and I was probably, pretty proud. I probably played, had more wins against him as a hooker than probably anyone else in world rugby. Over that period of my rugby career. In terms of Waikato and Auckland and other games and All Black trials and stuff. And that, he was tough and physical, and made me better as a player, and I hope at the time I made him better as a player as well.
What was he like to you? He was ruthlessly competitive. Was he? Was he supportive, or did he?
So was I. Yeah.
but was he supportive and nurturing, or did he see you as a threat? And...
I think there was mutual respect.
Yeah.
We got on well enough, but I find times have changed. I see. The relationship between players now and teams, been players who are competing in the same position, you see how matey they are, and they're all sort of, probably in our day it was a little bit more cutthroat. If you were in the same position, you'd be civil to each other, but you were, you'd want to be taking someone's position. But in saying that, I never wished an injury on anyone, and the All Blacks was probably the hardest environment to be involved in, because I was involved in a period where I think we went 50 odd matches undefeated. Wow. Which is amazing when you think of that sort of 87 to 1990. The All Blacks hadn't lost a match, a test match or a game on tour, and they're kind of thinking, the way for me at the time was, how do I become number one? Well, either the player that I'm up against gets injured, or the All Blacks lose, and you don't want to be involved in an All Black situation yet, or it's going to be fairly difficult and quite challenging to to get selected for yourself. So like a real learning experience over a long period for me.
What was Grizz like? Was he terrifying?
He was tough.
He?
He was. I can remember he trained us incredibly hard. I probably had three coaches who had the most significant impact on me in terms of my career. And one was definitely Grizz, because Grizz was uncompromising. If he saw a weakness, he would push you to the limit where he almost tried to break you. But it was a mental toughness. It was kind of like, he understood trying to get the best out of it. You go away on an All Black tour, and you would train early on in that tour. He'd push your train, and then when it come towards the test matches, he'd ease up and he'd freshen guys up and things. And he definitely understood that, but it was important you didn't show any weaknesses. He wanted people that were mentally tough, and so I learned a huge amount from that. And then the other two were Kevin Green, who coached Waikato, and I thought his man management skills were excellent. The way that he got the best out of people, and the way he kind of motivated, and the environment that he created was outstanding. And Glenn Ross was another one who coached me at First 15 at Hamilton Boys and Hamilton Old Boys, and also with Waikato. And probably he was the first guy that I saw was the most professional, teaching background, but incredibly well prepared in training sessions. So you go into, you knew exactly how long the training session was going to be, what the drills were going to be, and that to me was that organisation kind of had a kind of a big impact, because we'd come through a period where you'd go to training, you never really, even with Grizz, you never really knew how long the training session was going to be for, and how hard he was going to do, and then or how long each drill was going to be, and so. Yeah, those, definitely he was tough. He had a lot of respect for him in terms of, what he had done in the game and what he had achieved, and definitely learned a lot from him from my own coaching career.
What your proudest moment as an All Black? Is there anything that springs to mind?
Oh, I've never been asked that question before.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I think just being selected. I think I can remember once being sitting on the bus, an All Black bus, and there was all these supporters around, and they were wanting autographs and photos and stuff. And I can remember sitting there and just going, just don't take this for granted. How lucky you are to be in this situation. And I used to kind of remind myself of those sorts of things, so probably just that opportunity to be involved, to put that jersey on, to call yourself an All Black, those are my proudest moments. Yeah.
I had a guy on the podcast the other day who's your career crossed paths with, Freno Bodica.
Yeah.
And he was called something. And I'm guessing you were the same, like a guy that was in the team but not playing.
Yeah.
What were you called? There's a name for it.
Dirty.
Yeah. Dirty. And I said, what's a dirty? And he had never really thought about it, but he said, I think it's because we're lower than the dirt.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you know what is a dirty?
I don't know what the dirties. I don't know where that came from. It's just the dirty, dirties, yeah.
But it sounds like you guys were just pissed all the time, like going out, casing out what bars to go to for the test guys on the weekend.
Well, sometimes you did those things, yeah, kind of like, or if you weren't involved, it didn't matter if you had midweek games. The guys that weren't involved the next day tended to go out on the night before. That never happens nowadays, because we see so many occasions where someone wakes up sick, or someone's hasn't quite recovered from an injury or something like that. But it was kind of like you went out. Yeah. I mean, kind of those days it was a little bit. This was a bit of the grizz of philosophy, and some of the you trained hard, you played hard, and you sort of kind of drank hard. And that was kind of like, and then you fronted up the next day, and you trained every day, and it was kind of like that was almost that mental toughness, and you knew the pressures of being an All Black, what it meant. You knew the responsibilities of putting that jersey on, and the history and those sorts of things. Probably today, the people aren't quite as aware of the past and what went before them, and but definitely during that period, you knew. And as a dirty, you sometimes went out there and had to, to make different sacrifices.
Took one for the team. On reflection, do you think you've been a better player or a coach?
I think my experience has made me a better coach. Definitely. And I've played with some great players and some great All Blacks who. Went into coaching but never made it as coaches, and I think a part of that was that they never knew why they were great players, and I found that interesting. I mean, I started kind of at a really young age. Like I said, that time in Ireland, I was a player coach at 24, 25, and that for me was really. Significant, because there was a lot of things that I was doing that I didn't understand. Not so they didn't understand. I was just doing instinctively or naturally because I did it, and I kind of had to take myself and go, "Oh, why am I running that line? Why am I doing that? Why have I done that?" And that to me was quite significant in terms of coaching and understanding and teaching players things, because I really had to take myself back in terms of asking myself a lot of those things. So look, I was a better player than Fitzy, I've got to believe that, you see.
Oh, let it go. So at the time we're recording this, it's only been 7 months. 7 months since you finished with Wales. Beginning of the year.
Yeah.
How does it feel to suddenly wake up without responsibility or pressure?
Oh, it feels good.
Yeah.
Like
a relief, weight off your shoulders.
Oh, I love the pressure. I love the responsibility and stuff, and I thrive on that. I thrive on being involved with teams that have been underdogs and stuff. What I struggled with was I struggled with the negativity in the end, and I kind of went, ooh. Is
that from the media or the public?
Yeah, it was definitely the media.
Yeah.
And I kind of went, there's a guy who's taken a guy called Steve Tandy, and I think that he'll do a good job, but he needs some time, and I hope they give him the time. And it's not that the rugby people won't give him the time, it's not the union won't give them. I just hope the media give him that time, because, and I think that when I first went back, so finished in 2019, we made the semi-final World Cup, being beaten in the last sort of minute with a penalty goal from Pollard. Lost in the last couple of minutes to the semi-final. And so I finished there, and when I've come back into 2022 and started 23, I went, oh, we're in a little bit of trouble here. And we haven't had a great Six Nations, poor Six Nations. So everyone's writing us off for the World Cup. And what I've loved about the World Cup, and I'm proud of times that I had involved with club sides, is that 3 months together, sort of 2 or 3 months together, preparation, that time, and we've ended up winning our group in the World Cup. Quarterfinal, we should have beaten Argentina in the quarterfinal, but I didn't get a lot of credit for that. And then we've lost 18 players after the World Cup. They were either retired or finished or gone and played overseas, and I've just said this is going to take a little bit of time. And some of the journalists who were criticising us before the World Cup and said we wouldn't get out of a group kind of didn't really give us any credit. And then you go on a little bit of a losing streak because it's going to take some time. And there's a few games, we were in a position to win and we didn't get over the line. And I just, after the negativity, and I thought I need to take some pressure off the players and maybe some pressure off the union. And I just wake up one day, I went, actually, I don't need this in my life anymore. I've been through enough. I love coaching. I love being involved. And the game has been brilliant to me, but there's a time where you've got to actually decide for yourself, in terms of, do you need to, it wasn't just about me. It was kind of, I felt I was making the decision for the best thing for Welsh rugby as well at the time, and haven't regretted it. Just kind of, so they're going through a rebuilding phase. And what probably a lot of people don't realise is that the issues that they're there now, they're talking about, they're going to reduce the 4 professional teams down to 2, and what's going to happen with the academies. And there was a national academy that we had that had been disbanded for a number of years, and that had been successful. But the success that we had over a period where we knew we were papering over the cracks that were there, and when we said when the dam bursts, which it has, it's going to take a while to fix it up, and I think that's they've been through this thing in the past where they had unbelievable success in the late 60s and the 70s, and then they had teacher strike in Wales, which really impacted the game at schoolboy level, and that had quite a negative impact on the game in the 80s and 90s. And I think it was, from having been amazingly successful in the late 60s and 70s. They didn't win a Six Nations until 2005. When Steve Hansen was there. It'll be. Well, actually, Steve Henson had already finished him. So I think Mike Ruddock had won that the Six Nations in 2005. So it's it might take them a little bit of time again.
You mentioned Steve Henson there. Are you guys friends? I found a photo of you and him online. Is that after the 15 all? Is that after the 15 all draw?
I'm not sure of it.
Looks like a very awkward passing handshake.
Well, it's probably just the someone
the angle or the moment. Yeah.
I can remember. That could have been just us walking away or something like that. I don't think. Yeah, well, I don't know if you know what I like. I mean, I see so many photos of myself, and I think photographers, they take every single reaction or photo, whatever, and depending on the story that they want to write, they'll try and match up the photo. So I can remember talking to Steve after the Lions in 2017, and he said to me afterwards, he said, how are you feeling? I said, I don't know. I said, what are you yourself? And he said, it feels a bit like kissing your sister, doesn't it? I kind of went, I'm not sure about that, but, in terms of, a drawn series for the Lions. But I think the thing about that drawn series in 2017 is that, again, I think the most amazing thing about that thing is the photo at the end of the third test. And you've got Sam Warburton and Kieran Reid holding the trophy with the Lions players and the All Blacks intermingle. And to me, that is going to be a rugby photograph for the ages. It's an iconic picture. And if the Lions had have won or the All Blacks had have won, we never would have seen that image. We never would have seen that picture of the two teams on stage together. And that kind of, like I spoke before about, things are bigger than the game, and to me that's an unbelievable picture that represents what the game's all about.
Would you still like to be involved in the All Blacks in some capacity, or has that ship sailed?
Yeah, I think it's sailed. I get asked a lot about being involved in the All Blacks. I'm a great believer in what will be. I don't think ahead. I don't sort of plan ahead. I know there are people who have, kind of have had the goals and trying to plan out what their journey is going to be, what their coaching. I have never done that. I kind of thought, if you've been successful somewhere, then opportunities will come along. I'm probably the only person who's been involved in the game as long as who's never had a rugby agent.
Oh.
Yeah.
You've done all your own negotiations?
Done all my own negotiations.
How do you know you're not getting screwed over?
I don't know. Kind of know. I think I know what I'm worth, and and then sort of negotiate that. Yeah, look, you talk to a lot of people. Everyone.
You got a fair idea.
Yeah, you got an idea what you're worth.
Shit, you're saving a lot on agents' fees, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
20%, 15%.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So I've never had an agent, and I've haven't got a CV. I've never applied for a job, and so I've been incredibly lucky, and so. Like I said, a great believer in what will be, and not planning too far ahead. And if you're successful, opportunities come their way, and if you're not, and I'm lucky enough, I've had great experiences, have been successful. Had challenging times, but rugby has been a big part of myself and my family's life, and it's given us those opportunities to have security, to be able to travel around the world, and have opportunities in the future. And so if I don't do anything again, but I'm sure I will, I might spend the next few years spending as much time with the grandkids, doing as much travel as I can with myself and Trudy, and making sure my kids are in the best possible space possible.
Because you're still very young on the big scheme of things. I think you're the same age now as what Sir Graham Henry was when he finished with the All Blacks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
What's the closest you've come to being involved with the All Blacks? Have there been like phone calls or people reaching out over the years?
Oh, I've had. I think there've been times when they've been looking for All Black coaches where they've been contacting all the coaches in the world, and but a lot of people didn't put their names forward in these things, and I think they've changed their philosophy on that, thinking at the time, they might contact myself, or might contact 8 or 10 other people. We want you to put your name forward for the All Blacks position, but it's one of those there that if anyone finds out that you've put your name forward for the All Blacks and then you don't get the role, and then you go somewhere else, the All Blacks my first choice, you're only my second choice. It's a really delicate, delicate sort of situation. So I think, I think they've changed their philosophy where they may target just 1 or 2 people in terms of the roles going forward, because I was involved in a situation where I was contacted, I never put my name forward, and I know a number of other coaches, because of that scenario I was talking about, never put their names forward in terms of applying for an All Black coaching position.
Mm. So never say never to anything involved with coaching. No,
I think you've always got to keep your options open. That's the thing. It's I finished with Wales. I was going to come back home. We had some time as a family planned. We were going to spend some time in Spain and France. Bryn had some mates that he went to school with, and they were all over there with a girlfriend. So we had a good friend of mine's had a chateau in the south of France. Wow. So there were 17 of us there. Sort of celebrating all these boys' 30th birthday, which was unbelievable actually. So so we'll just see what happens in terms of that. So I had that time, and then bit of time in Fiji and stuff, and just doing lots of travel and things. Yeah.
Well, maybe you need to make yourself more available. Get a LinkedIn page or something. I had to track you down by going through your daughter.
I know. I don't know. I was. We're going. I had 3 weeks in Uruguay doing a bit of coaching there. As it was headlines in there and the papers in Wales, and in terms of that, where I was asked by someone involved in World Rugby. Would you be interested to go into Uruguay for 3 weeks just to help with some of their national academy and one of their club sides? And I kind of looked at it and went, the game has been brilliant for me, and here's an opportunity for me to give a little bit back. And all of a sudden, headlines in Wales Online, Gatland takes shock, new position. I went, oh my God, I'm just going over there as a consultant for 3 weeks, to have a look at their academy and team called Penarol, who was playing in Super Rugby South America. They ended up winning the competition, so I was there for the last game, the semi-final and final. It was a great experience. Great experience for me in terms of looking at something different, looking at a different culture. And I loved, Argentina when the celebrations when they win a match, and I was lucky enough to be in the changing room with this team from Uruguay, from Montevideo, afterwards, where they'd jumping up and down and cheering the sort of Latin temperament and stuff. Incredible experience. So, so we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, how good. I mentioned on Instagram you're coming. I've got a couple of random questions here. Hardest conversation you've ever had with a player?
Oh, Brian O'Driscoll.
Really?
Yep.
You loved him, eh? Like I've heard you say like he's one of your top 5 goats.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I gave him his first international cap as I think as a 19-year-old, 18 or 19-year-old, and then to be involved with the Lions, to be the first person that didn't select him when he was fit and available in Australia in 2013 in the third test. That was a really, really tough and challenging conversation. But like I said, the way that he conducted himself, the way he handled himself, I got a huge amount of respect from him as a player and as a person. But I learned a lot from that situation. And the thing about even you've been around the game for a long time, and I think you're always learning. You always got to keep an open mind. It's always life's always about learning experiences, and I continue to learn all the time, and don't know everything about the game, and things happen, and that was a moment for me, an experience for me that I learnt a lot, but it was difficult and challenging.
Like what did you learn from that situation?
I learnt that probably afterwards, after the second, we'd won the first test, we'd lost the second test, and probably should have said to the media team, we never had a conversation about because I used to kind of allow people to have their own autonomy in doing lots of things, and they generally made really good decisions. But Sam Warburton had been injured after the second test, and we put Brian O'Driscoll up on the Sunday after the second test for media, and if they'd asked me, I probably said it's not the best choice to put him up, because it would have given us a little bit of breathing space, and I knew there was going to be potentially a discussion because we'd had other players coming back fit from injury, and we'd lost that second test. And by Brian being up in the media, then people just assumed that he's going to be selected for the third test. There's a good chance he's going to be selected as captain, and so they kind of went on that narrative and that road. So by the time the team got announced on the Wednesday, and that's something that I've always tried to. I've prided myself. How do you control the narrative? And control the narrative is always get out on the front foot. Get out there first. Try and control the story, because once you get leaks and stuff and things go out, then you're always playing catch up. And so that I learnt a lot from that. And probably there was so much negativity around that selection as well, in terms of leaving Brian out. I can remember on the Friday, so we'd trained, had a couple of days of training, had two training sessions on the Wednesday and another training session on Thursday, and the captain's run on the Friday, and we just took the 23 to the training ground on the Friday for the captain's run, and I should have taken everybody. I should have made everyone feel how important it was that they were involved on that Friday, and that was something that, because Brian wasn't in the 23, he said to me afterwards, he said, it was the first time I didn't feel a part of it by not being involved in that 23, and I kind of took that on board and going, just how important everyone is, where I kind of looked at it from a different angle and saying, look, there's so much negativity about this selection, and leaving Brian out, was it better just to focus on the 23 in terms of their preparation? But again, I didn't get it right in terms of, even though we won the game comfortably, and then the first question I get in the press conference afterwards, Warren, you must feel justified in leaving Brian O'Driscoll out. If I'd said yes, that would have been the headlines the next day, and I went, no, not at all. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do as a coach. It doesn't mean that it was still the right decision. It doesn't mean I don't question myself, was that the right call and the right decision? So you're always trying to play a little bit of catch up, people trying to catch you out, trying to look for a headline and stuff. And in the past, at the times I got myself in trouble, because I have prided myself in trying to be as honest as I can. I don't think there's ever been an agenda. If you ask me a question, I will, hopefully tell you the truth, or I'll give you an honest opinion. And sometimes people don't always like that, and that's kind of always been the way. And I'll give you a really good example of that. Is in the World Cup in 2011, I thought the All Blacks deserved to win the World Cup in 2011 because they were the best team in the World Cup. But I thought France were fairly hard done by with a few decisions in that final, and it went right down to the wire. And I got absolutely bollocked by social media for saying that, kind of like, wow. Because I can remember at the time, Bryn and I I had a couple of tickets for the final and, the semi-final when we played France and Sam Warburton had been sent off. And so I gave my 2 tickets for the final to Sam Warburton and his dad, and we were watching the game at the beach. And at half-time, Bryn was only young at the time. And I said to him, why don't you watch this game a little bit differently in the second half? And he said, what's that? And I said, let's watch it from how I might sometimes look at it. Let's watch it from, a French perspective, thinking we're French supporters. And Bryn goes, oh, okay. So in the second half, Bryn goes, oh, Dad, that should have been a penalty against Richie McCaw. And I went, yeah. Oh, Dad, that should have been a penalty against All Blacks. And I went, yeah. Oh, Dad, that should have been a penalty. I went, yeah. So it's, you kind of, you always learn lessons in life, don't you? Kind of, as a Kiwi sometimes.
Know your audience?
Yeah, know your audience. Sometimes you go, the All Blacks deserve to win the World Cup, but I thought France were a bit unlucky. Well, maybe don't say that at home in New Zealand, because we are, as Kiwis, there's our strength is our isolation and being involved, and the success we've had in not just rugby but all sports and lots of different things. But it's also a weakness as well, kind of that isolation and that naivety and not understanding things. But it's probably not the right time to get into that sort of conversation. Yeah.
Do you loathe the media? I mean, it's a necessary evil with your job, isn't it? But what are your views on them?
It's the hardest thing in the game to be involved with at the moment. It kind of, and I don't know what the answer is here, because with the media at times you get you hear them being critical of players who are trained in media. They don't say anything. They're very neutral, kind of like very, in terms of the responses they get, and they're looking for some colour and they're looking for people to make. But then that opens the players up to criticism, and social media criticism, and the players, they've read a lot of this thing, and you feel for the players sometimes, and you go, I don't know what the balance is, but kind of like, you can't have it both ways. You can't kind of have where you can be critical of players or write a story in social media critical of players, and then players sort of clam up and don't give honest answers. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there, but it's different, and probably you go back a number of years where you could have had a relationship, a really good relationship with journalists that you trusted and respected, and you could talk off the record and know that they wouldn't stitch you up. But they're kind of few and far between now in terms of that. And I think if you spoke to all, not just in rugby, but a lot of people involved in the high-profile sport, and say, what's the most challenging thing that you find? They'll say it's the media, and it's kind of media or social media, and dealing with all those sorts of things.
You've got this cartoon here from is it Rod Emerson? Is that the cartoonist?
From
the New Zealand Herald.
Yeah.
So this is during the Lions tour. Is this the 2015 Lions tour? The one
2017.
2017. That was a drawn series. Is that one? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the story about that? What's the whole backstory with the clown nose and the clown thing? It's a very mean cartoon, isn't it?
It's not the greatest in the world. Yeah. Well, kind of it goes back to where there was an before Australia played the All Blacks, and Michael Cheika was. The New Zealand Herald did a thing with Michael Cheika being portrayed as a clown, and I was asked about that, and I just thought, look, I just thought, and at the time I don't even remember the New Zealand fans were booing Quade Cooper, and obviously Michael Cheika, and I just thought, as a fan of rugby, I just thought it was a little bit over the top, and so I made some comment that I just thought, that it wasn't acceptable that people were booing sort of Quade Cooper, and I thought the Michael Checker clown thing, that was done before that, and so obviously the New Zealand Herald didn't like me criticising them and decided to portray me in the same vein, I suppose. Yeah.
And when you open the paper and see that, or someone in your team shows that to you, how do you feel? Is it hurtful? Is it embarrassing? Does it piss you off?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there's no doubt in my mind, having spoken to people that I know and trust and whatever, that journalists in New Zealand Herald were given some inside information on the All Blacks, and it's just, it's probably the way sport's gone, and part of the deal for that was to try and put me off my stride and upset me, and be critical of myself, and that, yeah.
Did it work?
No, it just made me more determined. It kind of, I didn't enjoy the tour, I didn't enjoy the tour, but I was really conscious that the interesting thing is that all the stuff that happens, like the New Zealand Herald stuff, the staff would have seen that, but the players had no idea that sort of stuff's going on, really. They don't really take much notice in terms of reading that. But, yeah. But I did wear, I did wear a clown nose.
You do a press conference after that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was after that.
Yeah, it was after.
Whose idea was that?
It was mine, actually. Yeah, I was going to do it in Wellington after the second test when we won the second test, but it wasn't the right time because it was the game where Sonny Bill Williams had been sent off, and he kind of I didn't want to be disrespectful to him and what had happened in that occasion, but I decided to put it on for the third test anyway. So. It's and I think a few of the photographers weren't happy because they'd missed it. They'd missed the catch me, wearing the clown nose into the press conference. And I walked in with this clown nose on and sat down, and then basically took it off. And so I don't think many people got a photo of me doing that. But look, I don't know what they were, trying to do. But definitely was a concerted effort by some people to try and put me off my stride and upset me during that tour.
Yeah. I'm probably projecting here, but if that was me, if I was in your shoes and I'd played 140 games for my province and made the All Blacks and been in the All Blacks for 4 years and was plying my trade overseas and doing it very well, I think I'd be fucked off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how it would be for your family as well, like your kids seeing you.
Well, I think
like
there was a journalist. People weren't that happy. There's a journalist that had written a lot of stuff on that there, but never asked a question in a press conference. And it's one. It's one organisation that I'd never deal with again. Yeah, I'd never do a story for them. For whatever reason, so, but
can you say what organisation or no?
New Zealand Herald.
Oh right, the Herald, yeah.
Yeah, I'd never ever do a story with them again. I just think they're trash, and where I thought Sky were great in terms of the way they covered stuff, I thought they were fair, and there were other outlets I thought were pretty good.
It's quite fun. I've had Steve Williams on the podcast, Tiger Woods' old caddy.
Oh yeah,
had him on a couple of times, and he won't do anything with stuff. Because of some stories they wrote when Tiger's infidelity came to light, basically accusing him of being involved. Yeah. And people at Stuff are like, oh, no, those people aren't there anymore, but he doesn't care. Yeah. It's the organisation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff, I don't think these journalists necessarily have, they don't necessarily realise or give much thought into how deep this stuff can cut. Because you're dealing with people.
Yeah, and I think you've got to be careful, and you've got to be, it's not just, I've been a little bit, got thicker skin than most people, and like pretty strong. But it's the impact it has on. I see it I've seen it with players. I've seen it with the players keep quite strong, but it's all of a sudden their partner and then their mum and dad and brothers and sisters and wider sort of groups. They kind of they can take that sort of stuff more to heart. I mean, I know that with that clown stuff, and there are times where my son and daughter wanted to say, "Dad, we want to go on and say something." I said, just let it be. It'll be there, but I can understand where people won't deal with certain journalists or outlets because of what's happened, and I fully understand that and respect that, and have been in that same situation myself.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that and revisiting it.
Yeah. No, it was. It was tough. It was probably 217, 221. It was kind of the first time I have this different view of the Lions. I have this romantic view of the Lions. I see the Lions as being an opportunity to celebrate the game. Because you bring the players together from four nations and you're playing away from home, normally against one of the best teams in the world. And I think 3 of the 4 tours I was involved was against world champions. And you realise that there's this chance to do something special in the game. And probably 217, 221 was the first time I kind of went, it's almost something that the winning was more important than anything else. Winning was more important than the game. And I just think that when you look at the bigger picture and you look at what a Lions series, a Lions tour can do, it can do some magical things that I think are bigger than just winning. And I would really encourage people to be involved in that and think about that and be a part of that. And look, winning is really, really important. But I thought we'd gone a certain way, and that's a good example where, even like the very first game, the headline in the New Zealand Herald, we're playing against New Zealand Barbarians in Whangarei. My son's playing, and I had a coffee with him on the day I went to a press conference. It was tough for us. We'd just arrived in New Zealand on the Wednesday. We had a training session on Thursday. We drive to Whangarei on the Friday. We're playing New Zealand Barbarians on the Saturday. So really limited preparation. And I said to him, they said, what was the conversation with Bryn? And I just said, look, we had a cup of coffee, and I just said, we didn't really talk much about the game. I just said, mate, good luck tomorrow. I said, you might have to make a few tackles. That's all I said. Headline the next day in New Zealand Herald, Gatland to target Barbarians' weakness, dash his son. I said, wow.
2 for the price of 1.
I said, where the hell did that come out of? Warren Gatland will, the first paragraph, something like, Warren Gatland will instruct Ben Teo to run on an angle at his son because that's the way the Lions are going to play on tour. And I'm going, okay. Right from day one, I knew exactly what I'm dealing with, and that continued right through the whole tour. But like I said, you kind of, you put up walls a little bit, and you learn to expect that sort of stuff and deal with it.
Was that hard on Bryn? It's a pretty mean thing to write. It's pretty shitty, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. He was okay. I think it was my wife and daughter were the ones who were a little bit more animated about it. Yeah.
And Trudy's a redhead, isn't she?
Oh, absolutely.
Don't mess with the fiery redhead.
I know. It's the only thing I'm scared of is she's about 5'2" with red hair. Yeah. So she can be fairly tough.
We haven't talked much about your time in Wales. It's incredible. So your first stint there, 12 years, finished in 2019, longest serving Wales coach ever. And then there's they named a gate after you. Yeah, Gatland's Gate at Principality Stadium. Yeah, that's a massive honour.
Yeah, I loved my time there. It was made some great friends, had some great experiences. Yeah, and kind of, yeah, I suppose being involved with a team that there weren't a lot of expectations, and we kind of, everyone grew as a team, and we, when you're dealing with a nation like Wales with such a small playing base, you're gonna have the ups and downs. You're gonna have smallest playing base of any tier one nation in terms of the numbers and stuff, and you've got 4 professional sides, but still a lot of foreign input in terms of number of foreign players, and I think over that period we punched massively above our weight, in terms of the success that we had. But it was always tough, and really proud of what we achieved. Particularly the cycles that we had, and particularly in World Cups anyway.
Oh yeah, some of those achievements: 4 Six Nations titles, 3 Grand Slams. What are you proudest of from your time in Wales?
Probably that sort of stuff. Yeah.
The titles.
Yeah, the first, I went there in 2008 and won a Grand Slam, and that was a little with a bit of luck. You always need, in all sport you need some luck. But the first game was against England, away from home. We hadn't won there in Twickenham in 20 odd years, and I can remember in the first half we talked about being smart, playing a bit of territory, but we kicked poorly in the first half and kicked a lot of ball away. And at half time, we were down 19-6 at half time, and we held the English wing, Paul Saki. We held him up over the line, and if he had scored, 100% England would have won the game, because it would have been 25. We held on. We got into half time, and we changed a little bit tactically where we wanted to attack through the 13 channel, kept a bit more ball in hand, and we dominated the second half. I think territory 75% territory in possession, ended up winning 26-19. And we're coming down the stairs at Twickenham, and a Welsh reporter walks in. Warren Graham Henry was known as the great redeemer. What are you going to be known as? And I looked at him and went, the lucky bastard. So that was my first day. Yeah. We had a couple of good wins against England at Twickenham, which were always good. So some good success against France, and obviously, I loved my time in the World Cup. It's kind of international rugby is really challenging from the limited preparation time, and there's a huge amount of expectation, and you got and you're really under scrutiny, under the spotlight in terms of performance and results. And what I love about the World Cup is having that time together where it's a one time in a cycle where you feel like you're almost like going back to a club side where you've got like pre-season warm-up games and stuff, and you could prepare a team properly. And so I kind of, for me, maybe that's something I'd like to potentially be involved with is, maybe the next challenge is be involved with a team building and leading up to a World Cup. I think the experiences that I've had in terms of with Wales and probably, like I said, punching hugely above the expectations and above our weight is something that I'd like to bring some of that experience in and helping maybe another country involved in the World Cup in 27.
Brilliant. Yeah, is there anything that keeps you awake at night or that you still ruminate on? Like, I've had Laurie Mains on the podcast, and he said he still thinks about the 95 World Cup often. It's 30 years ago. Anything for you, like close misses or missed opportunities? Or are you sort of at peace with how everything...
I think the World Cup in 2011 and Sam Wolverton being sent off, I thought it was, whether it's the right decision, but when you've got a couple of billion people watching a game, in sort of 17 minutes, you could argue, should have that been a yellow card or should have that been, I thought that was a little bit tough, and I thought we would have made the final. So kind of probably there's probably been a couple of those situations, but
You don't dwell too much.
no, I think you can't dwell too much. You kind of got to look forward. You know, you can't change things, and you can't change the past, and you've got to somehow try and create your own luck and do things as well. So if you dwell too much and you start keep looking back too often, it's gonna eat you up, I think.
It's not helpful, and you can't change anything anyway, can you?
No. And I remember, I'll give you. You talk about not changing anything. Sitting in the bus with Andy Irvine in 2013, we're playing the Barbarians in Hong Kong, and we'd booked a time to go to the match, and we'd allowed an hour an hour 20. So we were meeting something like at a team meeting, like an hour and 2 hours or 2.5 hours before kickoff. The analysts had gone to the game earlier, and one of the analysts rang me and said, "It's only taken us 15 minutes to get from the hotel to the ground. We've allowed for an hour or 3/4 an hour, something like that." And I've gone, "Oh, okay." So I've put the team meeting back half an hour, or 45 minutes or something. And so we do that, get on the bus to go to the game, and we are stuck in traffic, aren't we? And we arrive about 20, 25 minutes before kickoff. It was a brilliant experience. Andy Irvine's sitting next to me going, the bus driver, go there, trying to get us there quicker. And he turns around to me and he goes, "I can't believe how calm you are." And I went, "Andy, I can't change it." It is what it is. Why am I getting upset about something that I can't really change? So and we went there. The boys were brilliant. We had physios working on the bus, got changed on the bus, taped up on the bus. We went out there, and we ended up winning the game by about 70 points. So it was one of those things that, sometimes from adversity it comes a positive out of it, and using that to say, whatever anyone throws at us, you're able to deal with it. So I kind of try to turn it as a planned thing. No, I completely cocked up in terms of timings for that.
Well, there's all sorts of sayings, like control the controllables. Yeah. When people look back on Warren Gatland in, say, 50 years, what do you hope they'll say?
Oh,
I suppose this is in regard to your coaching career.
Yeah, I don't know. I've prided myself in trying to be as straight up and as honest as I could be. Like I said, that sometimes doesn't always go down with people in terms of that. And then people would term me as being stubborn, But I kind of, I don't know. Just I'd like to think that someone who's punched, have taken teams have punched above their weight in terms of, when I was first involved when the game went professional in Connacht and Ireland, and we did a lot better than people had expected. And then with Ireland, I'd like to think that I was involved with a period where it started of the, a reign of sort of making Ireland more professional and successful. Went to Wasps when they were bottom of the Premiership, and then we won 3 premierships in a row in Europe and stuff, and Wales. So someone who was involved with teams who was able to get hopefully the best out of teams and make them better than what they were.
Character-wise, what are you still working on as a man?
Oh, always trying to work on being better. There's always things that you can be better with and be. I think that one of the things that I've got to do since I've since I've been away and come back is making sure that back in New Zealand, just making sure that I make more connections more often with friends and family. Probably when you're away, it's easy when you come back and you catch up with people in there, but it's definitely something that I'm conscious of, making sure that I ring some friends a little more often, catch up with them for a drink or a coffee or around a golf or something like that. I've got to be more conscious of doing that, because that is important.
How are you with the golf? Are you still extremely competitive with everything you do, or have you managed to sort of compartmentalise it?
Yeah. I don't plan. When I lived in Wales, I lived on. It was 2 golf courses where we lived, and I hardly ever played them. Yeah. So I play more when I come back.
But in terms of the competitive, say you're playing, I don't know, Connect 4 with your kids or something, are you able to control the competitiveness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not really. Yeah, Bryn's. We had a table tennis table at home, and for some reason, all the way growing, I still couldn't let Bryn beat me until he was able to actually beat me. I think he was about 13 at the time. I used to just muck around with him, and then I'd get competitive at the end and beat him 21-19 or something like that, 21-20, and he used to go absolutely mad. But and then once he started beating me, I couldn't beat him. So yeah, he's probably worse than me actually. So
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I know. Yeah. He's competitive, and he's got a group of mates, and they get pissed off with him because he seems to be able to beat them in everything, whether they're playing beer ping pong or whatever they're doing, in terms of competitions and that. So
you guys are a different breed, eh?
Yeah.
I've had both Grant and Ryan Fox on the podcast, and their stories both match up. Ryan said the first time he bet Grant off the stick in golf, Grant didn't talk to him for a couple of days. Guys, what is it with you guys? You're just
I don't know.
competitive to the point where it's almost an issue.
Yeah.
How do you personally define happiness now? What's happiness for Warren Gatland?
I suppose waking up every day and not having to worry about things, not worry about. I need to. Like I said, there are things I'm doing at the moment in terms of keeping me busy, but then making sure that there's a focus in terms of going forward. I'm going to be doing a little bit of stuff with World Rugby over the next 6 months, which will be cool to be involved in that. And then whatever that is, I'm not. People say, you need to do. I don't find it difficult to make myself busy during the day, and whether that's going to be playing a little bit more golf or doing a bit more fishing or doing things or catching up with some mates and stuff, and maybe having something that I'll need to do. So I don't find it difficult to make myself happy at the moment. Yeah.
Well, it's only been a very short time since you've taken your foot off the gas. So at the moment, what is a perfect day for you?
What's a perfect day?
Yeah.
Perfect day is waking up. The perfect day has to be good weather at the beach. I'm trying to do a bit of exercise at the moment and doing some stuff. So I didn't go for a walk this morning, but been getting up about sort of 5:30, going for a couple of hours walk along.
5:30? Why? Yeah. You wake up naturally at 5:30, or?
I haven't been going to bed too late, so just try and do a couple of hours in the morning as the sun comes up, and then get on with the day, and then been busy. There's always emails and stuff and bits and pieces to do, and just getting things organised. We've been looking after the grandkids a little bit, spend some time up in here in Auckland, and then perfect day, and then make sure it's after 5 o'clock in terms of. I might have a beer or a glass of wine, and I've been doing a lot of cooking as well. So Trudy loves tidying up. She's an unbelievable house cleaner in terms of keeping the place tidy and doing the dishes and stuff. But she doesn't particularly enjoy cooking. So I've kind of been taking on a bit more of that responsibility and been enjoying it.
And what's the signature dish?
Been been doing a prawn linguine.
Yum.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. I love cooking a good roast as well and stuff. There's, I'm still looking at recipes and stuff and things. So, but I'm not too bad anyway. Yeah.
You seem to be enjoying this chapter of your life. What are you like as a granddad? How are you different as a granddad to a parent? You spoil them rotten.
Yeah.
Ignore the parents' instructions.
I try not to. Yeah. So, try not to. But my granddaughter's kind of got me twisted around a little finger at the moment. So, enjoy spending a lot of time with them and seeing them grow. The biggest thing that I found myself doing was, as a parent, you kind of you're not conscious. Well, I wasn't conscious of the stages that they were going through. Kind of all of a sudden they can do everything, and I could never remember back. When did they first start walking? When was they first talking? But grandkids, you're kind of obsessed with, every little development, every little
the milestones.
Milestones and the stages. First walking, talking, smiling. Recognising their hands and all those sorts of things, and so been enjoying spending as much time with the grandkids, and
How do you hope they see you as a man?
I don't know. I hope they see me as someone who is can have a bit of fun with them. I probably tease him a little bit too much and stuff and things. Chasing around, so my grandson's a bit, he loves to wrestle and that. They love chasing, myself and my wife around, and so the sporting thing. I hope they'll just see me as someone who's as a good person and who's kind and gentle, but also can be firm when they need to be as well, and caring. I mean, the sporting thing that to me doesn't matter at all. It's got no real impact on how my grandkids see me. I just want to be someone who's sets a really good example to them. I think Trudy and myself hopefully have done that with our kids, and then hopefully we can continue to do that with our grandkids as well.
Are you good at being firm? Are you scary when you're firm?
Oh, no, Trudy is. Trudy's a scary one. I can definitely be firm and hopefully in the right way, without being, despite what people in Wales would say about me. The thing I love is that there is a perception that people have of you, because people in Wales would see me as this uncaring, sort of cranky, sort of miserable bastard sort of thing, and I don't have a problem with people that perception of me, because the only people that matter are your friends and your family and people involved in your teams, and so excuse me. I'm not sort of too worried what the impressions other people have of me.
Yeah, well, they don't even know you, eh? It's almost based on a snapshot or a perception.
Perception, or they might see you just potentially showing very little or no emotion, as you're watching games, but that's a time when the cameras are on you, but there's definitely emotion in between and other circumstances. So the perception is that you're emotionless in terms of not displaying a lot of stuff, but that can be people's opinion, and that's fine with me. Kind of like that doesn't bother me. It's like I said, it's your friends and family are the ones, and teammates are the ones that really matter.
Well, they know. If they come to you and they say, you're being grumpy or cantankerous or whatever, then you probably have to do something about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it comes from a good place as well. When was the last time you cried?
Probably a year ago. It'd be a year ago, and I know the day actually, St. Patrick's Day. Good friend of Bryn's, probably one of his best mates, was hit by a car and killed in Sydney, and so I kind of knew the day after that, and my wife told me. So it was tough, and it was really, really tough on Bryn as well, because he got the phone call and from a good mate of his, Mitch's partner, and Bryn was the one who then had to make the phone calls to all his mates, and so for someone of that age to have to deal with and give tragic news to, it was really, really tough on him. So probably that's the last time I've cried. Yeah.
Have you got more emotional as you got older?
I've always been emotional.
Have you?
I've always been. There's always been a tear in my eye, sad movies and stuff and things. That's what's driven me. I kind of, you see something and then I have a bit of a tear in my eye. I hate scary movies. Always been terrified and shit myself at scary movies. But emotionally, I've always been quite emotional. Yeah.
What are you most afraid of, apart from horror movies?
I don't know. Not afraid too many things. I kind of want to. What I'm afraid of, like I said, I've made lots of sacrifices in my life, and I want to make sure that hopefully the next 15 or 20 years I get to really enjoy and do the things that I want to do, and travel and spoil the grandkids and spoil my two kids as much as possible, because like I said, we've made those sacrifices, so there's the opportunity to enjoy that part of our life.
Yeah, the fruits of your labour sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Just kick back and enjoy it a bit.
Yeah.
Any regrets?
No, nothing that springs to mind. There's always games where you might have done something a little bit differently, but like I said, I don't dwell too much on the past. I'm always someone who's sort of focused on looking forward, and you can't change things, so it's kind of, you got to learn from experiences and things that you do slightly different, but no real regrets.
And if Gabby, Bryn, Trudy and the grandkids were all in the room now, what 3 words would you like them to use to describe you?
Generous. I think that's something that caring and generous, caring, and hopefully fun. Yeah.
I like great words.
Yeah.
Gabby may disagree, since you got the draw and you didn't give her the card. And last one, Warren Gatland, are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've I've been lucky. I came up. I was. I probably had a bit of a different focus. Sports given me so many great opportunities, and I was lucky enough in terms of my upbringing, in terms of the support I had. But definitely came from a very modest family background in terms of didn't have a lot, and I think a big part of my motivation is trying to produce and have a couple of kids who I think are really good kids. If they any way I felt that they were spoilt or rude or whatever, I'd be disappointed with them. But I think they're two good kids, and hopefully being able to provide for them and give them those opportunities in life that I didn't really have, but for also them to appreciate and respect those opportunities that they've had, and hopefully for them to continue to be able to do that with their own kids as well.
Yeah, that's the best team you've coached, eh?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And the big much thing that we talked about earlier says it all, I reckon.
Yeah.
About the family dynamic and what you guys have got going on.
And it was only recent when Bryn and I were talking about it, and he used to read the story. How much I love you, big hero. So I can't remember what. Yeah. Bryn thought that those words were actually in the book.
I didn't realise you went rogue.
Yeah.
It was an ad lib.
Yeah, he said, I thought that was in the book. Didn't realise you made that up.
Flicking through the pages,
Yeah.
where is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this has been fun. How is this for you? Are you uncomfortable reflecting on your life and achievements, or do you enjoy it? You find it quite?
Yeah, I think it's a reminder of. It's a reminder and a reflection of what you've done and potentially achieved, but it's also a reminder of what you've learnt and what you continually need to learn. We need to keep always evaluating ourselves and things that we can do better, and like I said, I've always tried to think about how I'd do that differently and what I've learned and making sure that you continue to learn. I think that to me is the important thing. It's but I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Hey, well, thank you so much for
Right.
agreeing to come here today. I've really enjoyed it, and I can't thank you enough.
Thanks, Dom.
Cheers,
Thank you.
mate.
Cheers. Thank you.